Hey everybody, 12 Soul here. I'm gonna read a book, okay, or excerpts from a book called Morals and Dogma. Now I've traveled this nation for too many miles that I can remember. Then I've mentioned Albert Pike, and what Albert Pike did was he wrote a primer for the Masonic citizens in this nation, and most likely the world. As I go through cemeteries and towns, and as you go through cemeteries and towns, if you do, okay, you're going to find that they're all laid out on a Masonic grid. The cemeteries are dedicated by Masons. You'll see the Osiris monuments, same thing as you would find in Washington, D.C., the Vatican, and the City of London. It is the penis of Osiris, the Washington Monument. All right, so without any further ado here, I'm going to spend a few minutes, and I'm going to explain to you guys something. I make a claim, because this is what the claim Masons said. Well, if you care to listen to this, you're going to listen to it. The ancients counted 7 planets, thus arranged the moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. There were 7 heavens and 7 spheres of these planets, and all the monuments of Mithras are the 7 altars or pyres consecrated to the 7 planets, as were the 7 lamps of the golden candelabrum in the temple. That these represented the planets, we are assured by Clemens of Alexandria in his Stromata and Philo Judaeus. To return to its source in the infinite, the human soul, the ancients held, had to ascend as it descended through the 7 spheres. The latter, by which it represents, has, according to Marcellius Fenenius in his commentary on the Aeneid of Plotinus, 7 degrees or steps. And in the mysteries of Mithras, carried to Rome under the emperors, the latter, with its 7 rounds, was a symbol referring to this ancient through the spheres, ascent through the spheres of the 7 planets. Jacob saw the spirits of God ascending and descending on it, and above it the deity himself. The Mithratic mysteries were celebrated in caves. These caves were marked at the 4 equinoctial and celestial points of the zodiac, and the 7 planetary spheres were represented, which soul needs must traverse in descending from heaven to the fixed stars to the elements that envelop the earth. And 7 gates were marked, and one for each planet through which they pass, descending or returning. We learn from Celsus in the Origin, who says that the symbolic image of this passage among the stars used in the Mithratic mysteries was a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, divided into 7 steps or stages, to each which was a gate, at the summit an 8th one, that of the fixed stars. The symbol was the same as that of the 7 stages of Borsippa, the pyramid of vitrified brick near Babylon, built of 7 stages, and each of a different color. And in the Mithratic ceremonies, the candidate went through 7 stages of initiation, passing through many fearful trials, and of these, the high ladder with 7 rounds or steps was the symbol. You see the lodge, its details, its ornaments, by its lights. You have already heard what these lights, the greater and lesser, are said to be. They are spoken of by our brethren as the York Rite. The Holy Bible, I'm going to say that again. The Holy Bible, square and compass, are not only styled the great lights in Masonry, but they are also technically the furniture of the lodge. And as you have seen, it is held that there is no lodge without them. This has sometimes been made a pretext for excluding Jews from our lodges because they cannot regard the New Testament as a holy book. The Bible is an indispensable part of the furniture of the Christian lodge. only because of its sacred book of the Christian religion, belong on the altar, and one of these and the square and the compass properly understood are the greater lights by which a Mason must walk and work. The obligation of the candidate is always to be taken on the sacred book or books of his religion, that he may deem it more solemn and binding, and therefore it was that you were asked what religion you were. We have no other concern with your religious creed. The square is a right angle formed by two right lines. It is adopted only to a plane surface and belongs to the geometry. Earth measurement, that trigonometry which deals with planes and with the earth, which the ancients supposed to be a plane. The compass describes circles and deals with spherical geometry, the science of the spheres and heavens. The former, therefore, is an emblem of what concerns the earth and the body, the latter of what concerns the heavens and the soul. Yet the compass is also used in plane trigonometry, as in erecting perpendiculars, and therefore you are reminded that this degree both points of the compass are under the square, and you are now dealing with only with the moral and political meaning of the symbols, not their philosophical and spiritual meanings. Still, the divine ever mingles with the human. With the earthly, the spiritual intermixes, and there is something spiritual in the commonest duties of life. The nations are not bodies politic alone, but are also souls politic. And woe to the people which, seeking the material only, forgets that it has a soul. And then we have a race, petrified in dogma, which presupposes the absence of a soul and presence only of memory and instinct, or demoralized by lucre. Such a nature can never lead civilization. Genuflection before the idol or the dollar atrophies the muscle which walks and the will which moves. Hieratic or mercantile absorption diminishes the radiance of the people, lowers its horizon by lowering its level, and deprives it of understanding of the universal aim, at the same time human and divine, which makes the missionary nations. A free people, forgetting that it has a soul to be cared for, devotes all of its energies to its material advancement. If it makes war, it is to subserve its commercial interests. The citizens copy after the state and regard wealth, pomp, and luxury as the great goods in life. Such a nation creates wealth rapidly and distributes it badly, hence two extremes of monstrous opulence and monstrous misery. All of the enjoyment to a few and privations to the rest, that is to say, to the people. Privilege, exception, monopoly, feudality spring up from labor itself, a false and dangerous situation which make labor a blinded, chained cyclops. In the mine, at the forge, in the workshop, at the loom, in the field, over poisonous fumes, in miasmatic cells, in unventilated factories, funds public power upon private misery, and plants the greatness of the state in the suffering of the individual. It is a greatness ill constituted, in which all the material elements are combined, into which no moral element enters. And if a people, like a star, has the right of eclipse, the light ought to return. The eclipse should not degenerate into night. This is an excerpt from Morals and Dogma. Anybody with any ears can understand what's going on today. The state has taken over. The corporations are dominating. people are forced to wear masks when they don't want to. The people of our nation knew this long ago. They distrusted government. Later on in Morals and Dogma, they distrusted religion and the Pope. The Vatican, right? The City of London and Washington, D.C. They all form a triad. I just got done talking with my daughter. All of Manila is locked down again. Melbourne, Australia is locked down. The only reason that we're not locked down in America is because we have guns. Now, some people say the Masons are bad. I don't know. You read Morals and Dogma, you're going to find out something that you'll hear a lot of this in New Age. You'll hear a lot of this as pastors speaking about the will of man. So it's up to you to figure that out. Because you are a divine spirit in a human body. You're earth walking. I'm on my way to the Oglala Sioux Nation. I wish you all well. I'm at a cemetery once again because I honor my dead, because they knew this stuff. They live righteous and moral lives, right action. They would not be intimidated today by masks and what have you. So, anybody that's interested in what Albert Pike had to say to most Americans that were Masons, I recommend that you get a copy of Morals and Dogma and you read it. I just began to read it. This book goes all the way to the 32nd degree Masonic. It doesn't mean I'm a Mason. I will not belong to any group, but I am a human being, and we have a history, and that's part of it. If you want to listen to Hollywood speak their spells, if you want to listen to the 5 newscasts, whatever you want to call these things, tell you what to do, that's your business. But my business is being a human, and I recommend you all do the same. 12 Soul out.